And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. We turn our attention to housing now. And while Arizona may be the sixth largest state in terms of size, believe it or not, we could be facing a land crunch when it comes to housing. And joining us right now is Anita Lallian with Vermaland, one of the largest private landholders here in the Phoenix area. Now, I want to thank you very much for coming here.
Thanks,
now,
Dennis.
first of all, let's just start off with, we're talking about a land crunch in Arizona. It seems counterintuitive.
It does, yeah.
Because there's so many wide open spaces.
Right.
What are some of the issues right now that you see contributing to this?
Sure. So, first of all, only 17% of Arizona is really private land. The majority of Arizona is either federal land, state land, or Native American land. So when you kind of look at Phoenix, there's just not much private land left. And Phoenix has sort of been built out at this point. When you look at a map of Phoenix, we're sort of landlocked. Going north, we don't have much private land, and whatever we do is very expensive. Going east towards Tucson, we have some private land, but it's a little patchy. It's a mix of federal land and state land and private land, so that poses some developmental challenges. Going south, we do have some private land available, but again, it's a small amount. We do have some private land going west, so we do kind of predict that's where the path of growth is headed. As the population of Phoenix increases, I think we're going to start to see a lot of home developments start spreading out westward.
Yeah, obviously we already in Phoenix, I think people are starting to see a lot of infill projects, a lot of apartments going up.
Yep.
But I think the bottom line, a lot of people are going to be questioning, what is this going to do for their rent? What is this going to do for housing in Arizona? Because this has always been known as a place you can move to. It's affordable housing, low rents. Is that going to change?
Sure, and we already are kind of seeing that change happen. Rents, in some of these infill locations, they've started getting pretty high. And, there's sort of that tipping point where now it's making sense for people to, buy an entry-level home rather than put that money into rent. So we're really starting to kind of see the market shift. We're starting to see developers go into the entry-level home market. We are kind of facing a little bit of a land shortage closer into Phoenix. So we are seeing developers kind of go out to some of the markets a little bit further out, such as Maricopa, Queen Creek, Buckeye, Goodyear, and areas such as that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because before this housing crunch or the housing crisis hit back in 2008, 2009, we saw a lot of developers out in the West Valley and the far parts of the Phoenix metro area. There now is more renewed interest in going out there and building new homes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely seeing a lot of developers come back. What's happening is land prices closer into Phoenix are so high that developers are having a hard time penciling out, some of these deals, so they're kind of, forced to go a little bit further out. Home builders are facing a lot of pressure right now. Construction costs are high. They're facing labor shortages, so their margins are really getting squeezed. So I think the further out they go, they're able to kind of be more profitable in their deals.
Are we ever going to go back to the pre-housing bubble kind of growth out there? Because I look at these reports every month from the state, and it continually shows we're still far behind, far below where we used to be here in Arizona.
Yeah, I think I think it'll be a slow recovery getting back to that point, but all the economic indicators do kind of point that we'll get back there. Employment's strong. We're expected to add about 75,000 jobs this year. People are moving to Phoenix. We're expected to add about 100,000 people to our population. We're adding new industries, all the time. So I think as some of these fundamentals, get stronger, I do think, the population will start growing, and I do think we're going to start kind of seeing some of these areas have housing and kind of get back to where they used to be.
Now, I want to ask you this because you brought up the idea that labor costs are really squeezing some of the developers out there. Now, has there been any policy changes on the state level by politicians that have made it harder for them to get cheap labor here, or that is affecting that market?
Yeah, there were definitely some laws that were passed, that kind of had a lot of, the labor leave, and and we have struggled a little bit kind of getting that labor back. I think, as the market gets stronger, as demand picks up, as builders start to kind of see that price appreciation, I think we're going to start to get that labor force back. I think it'll, kind of be a matter of supply and demand.
Now, I think some people are going to talk and have talked about 1070 chasing some of the labor market away.
Absolutely.
Is there still apprehension then to come back here to Arizona, and why?
I think there is. I mean, I think a lot of people lived here, and then they had to leave, and I think people are scared to come back. It's, you know, they feel like it might be a little bit of an unstable economic climate as far as their jobs are concerned. So I do think there's a little bit of apprehension, but you know, hopefully, if you know we can pay, you know, kind of match the wages other states are paying, I do think we can, you know, slowly get some of that labor back.
All right, let's move on to let's talk about the idea of this whole you know, using more and more solar out here, and is there competition? How does this all fold into the big framework of Arizona's housing?
Sure. Sure. You know, so solar is, you know, there's solar companies coming in pretty aggressively into Arizona, particularly kind of in, you know, the outskirts of Phoenix, where there's large tracts of land. Solar companies, they have specific requirements. They need large tracts of land. They need to be close to transmission, and they've really tied up a lot of these properties that have these characteristics. To date, about 20,000 acres have been tied up by solar companies, and another 10,000 acres are under option. So, you know, as another thing to keep in mind is solar technologies are continuing to get cheaper. So as that happens, you know, we're going to see more of these solar facilities come online, and that's going to sort of diminish the land supply we have available for home builders.
All right, and final question before I let you go. Where are going to be some of the hot spots where we're going to be seeing a lot more building going on, and maybe some opportunities for people to get into housing?
You know, I think this year, I think the hot spots are going to be Maricopa. I think Queen Creek, Santan Valley. I think the West Valley is going to be really hot. I think Goodyear, Buckeye. I just read a report the other day that showed the top 10 highest performing subdivisions, and of those 8 were in the West Valley. So we, you know, really feel that that's where a lot of the growth is headed. So I think good things will happen in the West Valley coming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see and watch that and see if the state can completely rebound. But again, it sounds like we're kind of into a new era here in the Valley and for the state in terms of something that's been based on growth for decades, right?
Right, definitely.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thank
We're going to take another quick break, but we got lots more to